Hi, it's Chay. You're with the Oz Arab Media team. Today I am privileged to have Jeff from Parramatta Mission, one of the largest organisations in Sydney's West, supporting people that are experiencing struggle
Yep.
and looking for a safe place to call home.
Yep.
Now, Jeff, firstly, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you for the invitation, Shay. It's a great pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is ours. So we touched on this a little bit earlier. There's a lot of stigma associated with homelessness.
Yes, there is.
Share with me your new approach, what Parramatta Mission is doing,
Okay.
and how it's helping transform that view and that stigma.
Okay. We believe everyone has inherent value. It doesn't matter what your story is or how you've got to where you are. We believe that everybody has a value and is deserving of love and respect. So what we do is through our Meals Plus program in particular, but through everything we do, we set up a safe space where people can come to receive some support and some care. We work with various different other service providers in Western Sydney to try and give people the appropriate care. We don't have the resources to do everything ourselves, but we link with other people to try and make sure that people get the care they need.
That conduit in Parramatta, in Sydney's West, you're a local boy, grew up in Maryland.
Did.
Share with me your journey, help us get a better understanding of the type of leadership behind Parramatta Mission.
Okay. Personally, I grew up in Western Sydney during some of the great waves of migration in the 1970s and 1980s. I'm much younger than I look. No, not true. But anyway, we can edit that out later. But I grew up in a family where you give back. So where the importance is is to support where you can. So that sort of led me eventually into youth work, and then through youth work into ministry in the Uniting Church. And then after many years being away from Parramatta, I've returned, and they
tend to come back. People tend to come back to Parramatta.
They do. It was not something I ever expected. It was not on my to-do list, and I wasn't against it. It was just not expected. But it's such an exciting place to be.
Talk to me about the people there.
Well, Parramatta is just this thriving mass of humanity now, and we are one of the most multicultural areas, not just of Sydney, but on the planet. There's best part of 100 different nationalities around Parramatta, and we want to work with all of them. We love the diversity of the people we encounter. We love the stories that people have to tell from literally the four corners of the world.
Beautiful insight. Definitely, with the people that you're working with as well.
So our people come from every walk of life, and they all have a different story to tell. Sometimes they've only been in Australia a brief while. We increasingly are having migrants arrive who haven't come into a community and so don't really know where their place is, and so they come to us because the word's on the street that we're a safe place to start. And we're really happy with that. I've sometimes had to go back to my atlas to find some of the countries that people have come from, but that's marvellous.
So even sharing that insight, Jeff, gives that different perspective on issues such as mental health and homelessness, which I know are shared challenges for every person.
Yep.
Let's look now at your annual fundraiser, A Place at the Table.
Place at the Table. Yep.
How does that help bring forward the Parramatta Mission's new approach to changing and challenging that stigma and supporting people?
So we have a multifaceted approach to the work we do. Of course, we have this group of people who come and see us 5 days a week for food. We do 250 to 300 meals a day. And they, as I say, they each have a story to tell. And sometimes they're with us for a brief time and others are with us for a longer time. And part of dealing with the stigma that we talked about before is actually by creating an awareness in the broader community. So Place at the Table is all about creating that awareness in the broader community. Yes, it's a fundraiser. We receive no government funding, so we need all the help we can get, and we appreciate everyone who supports us. But it's also, it's primarily based around the idea that if we can help people to understand that this is an issue that can affect anybody, and that these folks, they want to be seen. When I first started back at Parramatta Mission a couple of years ago, the feedback I got from some of our friends was, we like it here because you see us. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, when we're sitting out on the street and we're asking for some help, or we're just trying to find somewhere to lie, or whatever it might be, people walk past us like we're invisible. And someone would say, we understand that, because if the boot was on the other foot, they would do the same. But by coming to us into a safe place, I talk to them like I'm talking to you. So we have an interaction. Now, sometimes that interaction can be a bit willing because their particular circumstance, but often it's just about people realising that they matter.
And it's a really hard conversation to have.
Can be.
Yeah, Place at the Table. It's an annual fundraiser.
Yep.
Recently had a revamp, obviously, of its intent, its approach. What is a key message you'd like to share for those people perhaps not as familiar with the work you do?
Well, it's as simple as saying that the privilege to which we experience is not guaranteed, and that any of us, through a change of circumstance, not even necessarily of our own choosing, could find ourselves in a place where we need help. And so the Place at the Table, the idea is to create an awareness for people that, basic concept, we'll have about 100 people there. About 90 of those people will be, purely randomly, will be set in all in the same building, all in the same space. About 90 of the 100 will be sitting there and basically have soup and a bit of bread. And there'll be 10 people randomly chosen who will be having a full 3-course meal with everything on, including bottles of wine on the table, and it's almost like they're the fishbowl, and so it can be quite awkward. So last year, for example, we had a husband and wife, and one was on the table with the 3-course meal, and one was having the soup and a bread roll, and so it was awkward. In one
Talk about relationship dynamics.
Absolutely. Well, in one case, the female spouse actually took some of her meal over to her husband.
That's beautiful.
It was beautiful, but so it's all education.
So clearly, you knew them well as well.
No,
they were
people come on the understanding that this is the process, and that we just want people to engage with the process. Someone else didn't have enough, and so they ordered in Uber Eats. So at one point, the guy from Uber Eats comes in with a bag of food to hand to someone who just hadn't had enough to eat. But while that wasn't necessarily in the spirit of the event, it highlighted the circumstance that one of the basic needs for people is food. And so that's why we call our program Meals Plus, because the meal is, we can help you if we've given you something to eat. Then we can have the plus parties. Then we can have a conversation about, if you're looking for assistance beyond a meal, how can we help you? How can we link you into services that are going to help your life?
How do you see a Place at the Table evolving in the next few years?
Okay. Look, this is our third try at a Place at the Table. We believe that it's a really good way of introducing our work to the broader community, because we can't do what we do without help. We simply don't have the resources. We live by our volunteers. So anyone who would like to come and volunteer for us, we'd love to have a chat to you. But we don't receive government funding. And feeding people is not an inexpensive activity, and supporting people is not an inexpensive activity. So we're always looking for donations. Some people will help us because we help people with clothing. We help people with food. We do little bags of food for people who just need something and have people to take it home to. There's a whole range of ways in which, and so the idea of a Place at the Table is to create that awareness that this is something that where we can actually help. We can actually help people realise that they can make a contribution. See, because people are scared. People people sort of don't want to make a donation to something because they're worried that that donation's just going to get eaten up in administration. Everything we get, we give. And that's a really important part of who we are and what we do. So if you give us $100, then that $100 is going towards the programs that we run. Whatever it might be, that's our intent. And so our intent is, while our primary intent is to care for the people who come into our door Monday to Friday and beyond sometimes, we also feel that we have a really important opportunity and obligation within the community to actually help people to understand the challenges that our friends go through and to help us to find solutions to some of those challenges.
Brings me to our next point.
Yep.
What personal stories can you share that would help other people, obviously, watching from the outside, better understand the challenges and perhaps some shared problems that you've seen?
Can I tell two?
You can tell three.
Okay, wow, three. Some of the people we support have been in difficulty for a long time. And we've got one fellow in particular. He has been... I find some of their stories of resilience amazing. People just find a way to survive in the most difficult of circumstances. We've got this one fellow and we've been working with him for a long time, decades. And he has managed to survive and at times thrive, being homeless, never being in trouble with the police, never getting involved in any major issues at all, and still contributing to the community. He's actually one of our volunteers as well as someone who uses our support services. Beginning of last year, he had a major health scare and he was starting to, he collapsed on the banks of the Parramatta River. And he was starting to slide into the river. I know this from I wasn't there, but I know this from first-hand accounts. Terrifying. He was saved, literally saved, by other members of our Meals Plus community who saw him collapse and starting to slide into the river, and they dragged him off the banks of the river and rang the ambulance to get him care. Now, they had no reason to do that. They weren't his friends. They just knew that he was part of our community and they gave a damn. And some of them are people, if you saw them, you wouldn't believe that was possible. They saved his life that day. Now, we've been able to help him since then with some of the health challenges, and that has been profoundly life-affecting for him in the best possible way. And he feels cared for in ways that he has quite openly said he hasn't felt cared for years. Now, that's one story, and that's, I get quite emotional about that because you feel confident about the work that you're doing and that my team is doing. But when our friends from our service are looking after each other in that way as well, oh my gosh, what are we doing? That's wonderful. A more recent example, we was late last year, and we're increasingly, and as this issue becomes more and more dominant in our media, we're increasingly working with survivors of domestic violence. Now, we're not a housing provider. We don't have the resources to do that. So we had a mum come in, must have been in early December last year, and she was leaving a domestic violence situation with 7 children.
Wow.
Now, with our current challenges around housing generally, finding a house for 7 children is hard, but when you're also fleeing from a domestic violence situation, and so there's a safety issue, not just a housing issue, it took my colleagues pretty much all day to find her somewhere suitable. And we did, because we try to. But it's hard because there's not a lot of available, and the bigger the group, the harder it is. But we were really lucky. We get a lot of, and again, friends, anything you want to do to help us out, we collect a lot of gifts around Christmas. So Christmas is a really important time for our friends. it's something sometimes we take for granted because maybe we do the same thing every year. But for our friends, we make it a big special day. So last year and every year we have a Christmas in the car park where we bring in our supporters come in, our volunteers come in, people just come in and help. Last year we had a Rotary Club turn up with a food truck with Christmas pudding for everybody. We did 1,300 meals. We had a band playing. Huge effort. And people just were able to celebrate the season. A lot of our friends would say to me, Jeff, this is our Christmas. This is not, we don't have the Christmas day that you might have or that others might have. So this is our Christmas. We also do work with a lot of people giving us things that we can give away for Christmas. So we try and make sure that the families we work with, because Parramatta's not our only site, we do play groups with migrant and refugee families. We make sure we have a Christmas party for them too. And we just want to help people.
Let's try and make everyday Christmas.
Let's try and make everyday Christmas.
An amazing effort, contribution to Parramatta and obviously other areas in Sydney's West. You are a huge advocate for supporting people and giving them that safe space.
Yep.
And we've touched on it already. And you also challenge that assumption where people assume that they see others in a very bad situation
Yep.
because of a personal failure.
Yep.
Or even a policy failure.
Yep.
What would you say to someone, Jeff, who has, or people that have these views?
In my experience, and I've had quite a lot of experience working with homeless people for decades, rarely is it a choice that anyone wants to make. You think about it, why would you leave a comfortable home or even an uncomfortable home but a roof over your head to choose to live so vulnerably? Because they are vulnerable. Why would you choose that? It's not a choice people make. We approach everything we do from the idea that we believe that everyone has an intrinsic value. And so if you have an intrinsic value, whatever the choices you have made to get you where you are, we believe that we can offer a choice for you to go somewhere else and be something else. Now, some people will take that opportunity, but some people are so entrenched in their position that's really hard, and especially in the mental health space. And we could talk for hours about that, and I know we don't have the opportunity, maybe another time.
Definitely another time.
But the services we need to provide for people in the mental health space, there's so much need, there's so much challenge within that space. But no, we don't believe people choose it. We believe circumstances, and sometimes there's circumstances beyond your control. You have a major vehicle accident and that can lead to an acquired brain injury, for example. We have some homeless people that we work with, and that's exactly their circumstance. And being in a stable home and paying rent are actually things they can't do because of the nature of the injury that they've acquired. But there's not always enough support for them within the life of the community, so they find themselves homeless not through any choice of their own.
Thank you, Jeff. Again, very important work and very emotional time for many people.
Yep.
Hearing this and sometimes being guilty of forgetting the challenges that others face. If you could share one message, for us here at Oz Arab Media and our viewers about how we can get behind you, not being shy at all or too humble, what would that be?
For people of faith, whatever your faith may be, please put us in your prayers. While we are a Christian organisation, we believe that everyone has an intrinsic value, and we believe that God created good people. So we want good people of all faiths and none to support us in any way you can. If you're in a situation where you would like to make a financial donation, as I've said a number of times, we don't receive any major financial support from government. So we are relying on our friends and friends of our friends to help us. And we've had some extraordinary generosity. We've been so blessed. The other thing, if you are someone who's got some free time and you would like to come and engage with us as a volunteer, you'd be welcome. everybody's welcome. Everyone has something that they can do to help. And the other thing is, and again, within the confines of this conversation, we couldn't quite go there, but we provide showers opportunities for people, limited. We do some laundry for people in a limited way as we can. And we have a bit of an op shop, but our op shop is, it's a bit different. We don't charge any money. So people will donate clean clothes to us, or maybe some homewares for people who, say for example, the lady I was talking about with the 7 children surviving domestic violence circumstance, she needed things for her kitchen once we found her somewhere to live. So someone had donated things that we could give her. So anyone who's got a surplus of things that they don't want, or that they think someone else could value, please get in touch with us. We would be only too happy to talk to you about how you might be able to support us.
Thank you, Jeff. And here at Oz Arab Media, we're only too happy to help you share that message. I'm sure there would be a lot of us
Thank you, Chay.
now here listening to you, knowing just how many appliances there are at home to donate, and even reviewing that time of the year where we look at our contributions to charities.
Yep.
Please keep your prayers for Parramatta Mission, and also for those looking at new ways to donate, provide for others, and even share what they have. Please keep Parramatta Mission in your thoughts. Reach out to Jeff, and from everyone here at the Oz Arab Media Studio, take care and stay engaged with us.